In this Youth Day, when we talk about the importance of youngsters, it is essential to look back on our elders and understand their point of view. Most often, we are unable to do it because of an intrusion called the generation gap. These differences may stem from older and younger people not understanding each other because of their experiences, opinions, habits, and behavior, and all the differences in them. Let us look at mental health through this intergenerational attitude difference. Mental health is an extremely important aspect of our life. Our social conditions are tied to our emotional well-being, and we, being social creatures, it is essential that we take care of our emotional well-being. In the past few years, more and more attention has been given to mental health, and we have seen a flurry of media articles, Twitter-thons, Facebook posts and hashtags making the rounds in the run-up to the World Mental Health Day, calling for attention to an issue that seems to have reached an inflection point. Campaigns that speak your mind, not ashamed and it's okay to talk, address mental health stigma by broadcasting personal anecdotes from those with lived experiences of mental health conditions. In spite of this, it is still evident that the stigma attached to mental health has not quite disappeared. First of all, I would like to talk about the reason why people are reluctant to seek help for their mental health issues. One of the reasons why people are hesitant to seek help for their mental health issues is because they think that therapy and counseling are just for individuals who suffer from a mental illness. However, many people who experience feelings of anxiety and depression do not have a clinical illness. Psychologists specialize in all kinds of mental health care, not just mental illnesses. Feeling overwhelmed by the world, your job, schoolwork, finances or relationships is completely normal, and this stress is a perfectly valid reason to talk to a mental health professional. For students, especially in college, mental health issues are so common that they are often seen as a norm. Just because you're able to manage your stress and anxiety doesn't mean you should have to endure it all alone. You don't have to be clinically diagnosed to make your mental health a priority in your life. Among the older generations, mental health is still something that is not talked about enough. In fact, nearly 60% of older adults don't get the help they need when they develop a mental illness. This is not because older generations do not believe in mental health care. It is because a high percentage of older adults do not have access to mental health care that covers mental health services such as geriatric psychiatry. There is a general assumption that aging adults do not have the same stresses of life as the younger adult generations, but it's simply that they have different kinds of stresses. The only way to improve this issue is by continuing to dedicate research to this area and to raise awareness of disproportionate mental health care among the older generation. The faster we acknowledge there is an issue, the faster we can find a solution. Another reason why I feel today's generation is more open to talking about mental health is that they are dealing with more of these mental health issues. This might be because they are the first generation to be completely raised with the internet and smartphones and have grown up with a very different experience of the world than the previous generation. This life has introduced a different variety of stresses leading to increased psychological concerns and more need for services for mental health. But along with that, awareness of mental health issues has grown, so that what once might have been ignored is recognized as a problem and treated as such. Stigma around using mental health services has lessened, making it more likely that the younger generation is able to identify their own issues and seek help when they feel they have a mental health problem that can be treated. Social media and the internet have connected Gen Z with other people's stories, be it strangers on the internet or celebrities and influencers. All of these factors may have made it easier for the Gen Z to talk openly about their mental health struggles compared to previous generations such as millennials and Generation X, many of their parents' generation. Normalizing conversations about mental health mean that Generation Z or the youngest generation has the ability to deal with their issues and move on rather than staying stuck, and that's the choice many of them are making. This generation doesn't want to be held back by mental health concerns. Rather, they'd like to get treatment for them so that they have good mental health to do the things that they want to do in life. They don't want to be held back by mental health problems because they have seen that it's possible to feel better and want that for themselves. It is also possible that the increased usage of therapy by Generation Z is a result of this generation being more open about their mental health. Being more aware of and accepting of mental health concerns in general will lead to more open discussions about psychological problems and how to manage them. What is the reason for the younger generation being more and more open about their mental health? There are multiple reasons, like we discussed earlier. And one of the other reasons is that the prior generations may have paved the way for the younger generation's openness through increasing awareness of mental health and public campaigns to reduce stigma. Younger generation has heard the other generations talking about mental health, and open communications among families, between parents and kids, and among generations will mean less adults with emotional baggage. What's more is talking openly about mental health can help to inform the younger generation of what to expect in their own lives. Knowing that a family member has struggled with a particular issue could help them to communicate with doctors about their own risk. Keeping mental health in the shadows is help to no one. And finally, what the younger generation has taught other generations is that being active in your own treatment and recovery is critical for managing stress and moving towards getting what you want out of life. Rather than avoiding the problem, facing it and finding help is the best strategy for managing mental health. Each generation's perspective is rooted in the environment in which they were raised. Regardless of how much stress the younger generation continuously seems to endure, it is true that every generation has had their own type of stress and has dealt with it in their own way. Change is necessary to evolve to a better way of living, and this change is inevitable. Regardless of what generation you belong to, keep your eyes and ears open so that you can keep current. What might feel wrong to you today could be the norm tomorrow. As they say, the only thing constant is that there will be change. Namaste Shivaya. Thank you.